The mail arrived at 7:13 in the morning, just as I poured my first cup of coffee. No subject, just the name of my daughter, Jamila Morales. For a second, I smiled. Maybe she wanted to share a last-minute detail about the place. Maybe she was writing to thank me again for helping with the deposit, the flowers. But when I opened it, I knew. Hello, Mom. After much talk with Sebastian's parents and the organizer, we closed the guest list. The ceremony in Valle de Guadalupe will be very intimate. Sebastian's mother insisted on keeping it like this, but we will broadcast it live. You can watch it from home. It will be like being there. Here's the Google Meet link. With love, Camila. It will be like being there. My hand didn't shake. I didn't drop the cup, but I stared at the screen until the coffee cooled. There was no "Dear Mom," no warmth, just "Mom," like a label attached to a shipping box. I read it again and again. My eyes stopped at the last line. Haha. A laugh, a cringe, a shrug of the shoulders, or just another way to make something cruel sound nice. I wrote 4 words. Sure, enjoy your day. Without excitement, without signs, just that. And I sent it. I washed the cup, put on my office pants, and left as if it were any Tuesday, but it wasn't. Something changed, not in the world perhaps, nor in Camila. It changed in me. For years, I swallowed things. I adapted, I made peace with being the last one on her list, but this was not a missed call or a late birthday card. It was intentional. It was her saying, I don't want you there. I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just drove to work silently, wondering when my love turned optional. It's strange what you remember when something breaks inside you. Not the noisy things, the quiet ones. I remembered standing in front of the old washing machine years ago, balancing a basket of clothes on my hip, deciding whether to pay for the gas or send the deposit on time for Camila's university residence. I chose the deposit. That month, we used extra sweaters. Nobody tells you that about being a mother. It's not only love, lessons, or birthdays. It's the bills, the dentist appointments you postpone for yourself, the shoes you don't buy, the vacation you never take. It's the invisible math you do every day. How much of myself can I give, and will it be enough? After Eduardo's death, I had 2 options, break down or bend over. I bent over. I worked weeks on end, 50 hours in the law office. I carried the whole roof, the broken washing machine, the broken hearts. I never made them feel the weight of what it cost me. That was my burden. Camila changed careers twice. Each change meant more credits, more tuition. I paid without doubt. When she wanted to move to Monterrey for a temporary job, I emptied my savings for her deposit. It barely lasted 6 months. I also paid for the return flight. And when, at 27, she cried for a man who left her with nothing but a coffee cup and a half-full bookshelf, I flew over there. I made her tea. I cleaned that apartment as if it still mattered. I thought, at least, she still needed me. I didn't keep track. I didn't add up hours or pesos, but maybe I should have saved a little bit of space for me, because now I'm not even on the guest list. That's what hurts the most. Not only the exclusion, the rewriting of the story. I never tried to buy my daughter's love. I built her foundation. I never imagined she would use it to build a life where I was not welcome. I have been her refuge since she was born, and now, somehow, I became an annoyance, a scheduling conflict, a stream viewer. I just wanted to give her more than I had, but now I can't help wondering what's left of me. I didn't cry on the way to the bank, not even felt anger. It was another sensation, like the moment before a storm, when the air calms and everything becomes strange, and you know something is going to change. The pretty manager recognized me immediately. We spoke last month when I transferred the first 500,000 pesos to the place in Valle de Guadalupe. She had praised my signature, so clear, like a teacher's. I remember having smiled. I didn't smile today. Mrs. Morales, she said, getting up from her desk, in what can I help you? I sat down slowly, leaving my bag by my feet. My voice was calm, precise. I want to cancel the transfer scheduled for the 10th of 900,000. She hesitated. Could there be a penalty depending on the status of the process? May I ask? Circumstances have changed, I interrupted softly. She checked the system and nodded. You're lucky. It hasn't finished. I can reverse it. Do it, I said. And that was that. I signed 2 more forms. The pen in my hand felt strangely heavy. When I got back to the car, the sun was beating hard against the windshield. I stayed in the parking lot for a few minutes, watching an older couple walk slowly toward the entrance, holding hands. I wondered how it would feel to have someone by your side who really sees you even when you have nothing more to give. At home, I opened the wine that I saved for the Day of the Dead. Camila was going to visit me that year, but canceled 2 days before. Work, she said. I poured a drink. I sat on the porch. I let the warmth sink into my skin. My cell phone vibrated twice, then another and another. Camila, Daniel, unknown numbers. I put the phone face down. They wanted explanations, but for the first time, I had nothing to say. If I wasn't welcome in person, I wouldn't appear on paper either. Let them feel what absence is, the truth of it. Not the one transmitted by Wi-Fi, but the one that takes the floor from under your feet, because this time, I was the one retreating silently. Finally, completely still, just before sunset, when the sky was golden and calm and the world began to cool, I was on my second glass of wine, rocking slowly on the porch, barefoot, watching the wind chase the leaves across the grass. I knew it was someone familiar, that kind of knock that hesitates at the end. Still, I wasn't expecting Daniel. He looked tired, his shirt wrinkled, sleeves rolled up, tie stuffed in his pocket, as if he had already had a long talk and didn't want another. He stood at the foot of the steps, one hand on the railing, the other holding his cell phone like a white flag. "Hi, Mom," he said. I nodded. "Good afternoon." He stayed there, uncomfortable. "Can I come up? Can we talk?" "It's easier from there," I said. He smiled, half-sighed, and climbed the steps, but he didn't sit down. "She's crazy," he said. "Camila. She says you canceled the transfer." "I did," I replied. "She is under a lot of pressure," he said. "Sebastian's family is pushing her. The organizer, too. It's not personal, just a matter of numbers, capacity of the place." "Oh," I said, taking a sip. "So I'm not a person. I'm a number." "I didn't mean that." "Surely not." He looked toward the yard, searching for an entry. "She thought you would understand, that you'd be fine watching it from home." "I paid for the house," I said, "and the photographer and the jazz trio. I thought that would buy me at least a folding chair." "Come on, Mom," he said. "No," I said quietly, putting down the cup. "Let me ask you something. Would you go to a wedding you weren't invited to just because you paid for the cake?" He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. "Exactly." He rubbed the back of his neck. "She didn't want to hurt you," he said, "but she did." Daniel seemed younger than usual, childish even. He wasn't the problem, just didn't know how to stand in the middle without sinking. "I'll talk to her," he murmured. I didn't stop him. I took my drink again, leaned back in the chair, and watched him leave. His car door closed with a soft click, not a slam, a small mercy, I guess. And then I stayed in silence, without explanations, without needing to defend myself, without even pain. Just the surprising calm of realizing I didn't have to keep proving my worth to be in the room, that I could meet their silence with my own, and it didn't hurt anymore. By Friday morning, the flood began. Message after message, voicemail after voicemail, my inbox filled with emails marked urgent. Most were from Camila, some from unknown numbers, surely the organizer or maybe a relative of Sebastian's trying to sound neutral while pushing an agenda. At first, the tone was controlled, civil. "Hello, Mom. The organizer hasn't received the second payment. Perhaps there was a delay with the bank." Then it changed. "Mom," the deposit bounced. "The place says if we don't resolve by the 5th, we lose the date. The florist needs confirmation. We won't keep the order without the full payment." I didn't reply. I didn't delete them either. I let them pile up as proof of a world crumbling in someone else's terms for the first time. The voicemails came. Her voice was tense, sharp, that professional panic people use when they try not to sound as desperate as they are. I know you're upset. I didn't mean to hurt you. This is complicated. Yes, Sebastian's mom is furious. She thinks you're doing it on purpose. I told her you're not like that, but I stopped listening there. I couldn't stand hearing myself described as a public relations problem to manage. That afternoon, I sat in the kitchen and opened the cabinet where I keep my old recipe cards, things I hadn't seen in years. I found my mother's peach pie recipe, handwritten in faded ink with marginal notes. I baked slowly, on purpose, like a ritual. Outside, the cell phone vibrated against the counter. At 2:14 p.m., she finally said what I expected to hear, not because it made a difference, but because it told me everything I needed to know. Okay, if this is for not inviting you, we can talk about making space for you. But please, we need that money. I'm begging. That was the moment everything crystallized. I wasn't suddenly welcome. It was a lever. She didn't want her mother there. She wanted the funds. My presence was no longer irrelevant. Now it was conditional, transactional, a tool, one more box on the organizer's list. I stood by the stove, cleaned flour from the counter, and poured a second cup of coffee. No tears, no anger, no revenge brewing, just math. For years, I covered the bill without question, but I was no longer in the red. I stopped giving to those who measured my value by how quickly I said yes. If my absence caused so much chaos, perhaps it meant I held more than they ever recognized. And maybe it was time they noticed how hard it is to lose a woman they thought would always stay. It was just after 6 when I heard the knock, soft, uncertain, one of those that says, "If you don't answer, I'll understand." I had just taken a lemon cake out of the oven, something to occupy my hands more than my appetite. The aroma filled the house with a comfort I hadn't felt in weeks. When I opened the door, there she was. Laura blinked, not because she didn't recognize me, but because years had passed. She looked older, of course, cheekbones more marked, more makeup than I remembered, but the eyes were the same, friendly, inquisitive, a little nervous. "Hello, Mrs. Morales," she said softly. "I hope this isn't a bad time." "Come in," I said, stepping aside. "You're always welcome." She gave me a tentative smile and followed me into the kitchen. "It smells like cake in here," she said. "It is. Sit down. Eat." She didn't argue. That was always Laura, respectful, observant, one of Camilla's few friends from childhood who treated our house as more than a sleepover. She wrote a thank you card when they graduated high school. I still have it in a drawer somewhere. I put 2 cups on the table and gave her one. She didn't drink right away. "She doesn't know I'm here," she said. I nodded. I imagined. It's out of control, to be honest. She yells at Sebastian, cries alone, pretends in public like she can't admit how much she messed up. I stirred my tea slowly, because that would mean taking responsibility. Laura nodded. "She keeps saying it got complicated, that she didn't think you'd care so much about the guest list." I let out a short sigh. That's the problem. She didn't think. "She's not a monster," Laura added softly. "She's just broken in a way you couldn't fix." I looked her straight in the eyes. I stopped trying to fix her a long time ago. She didn't notice. She swallowed. "She thought you'd hate her." "No," I said. "I just loved myself more in the end." Laura looked at her cup, then at me. "Is there something I can say or do to change this?" I shook my head. "You don't need to fix this for her, Laura. I've already let go." We sat in silence for a long time. The kettle clicked off behind us. The smell of lemon and sugar floated in the warm air. "She's going to ask if you're going to the wedding," Laura said as she stood to leave. "I already went," I said quietly. "I just wasn't invited." At the door, she turned and gave me a long, indecipherable look. Then she whispered, "You were the only one she thought would never leave." I nodded once. That's why it mattered when I did. And with that, She left. The wedding didn't happen, at least not the one they designed in inspiration boards and spreadsheets. The vineyard in Valle de Guadalupe withdrew first without payment, without a date. The florist followed after 3 weeks of unanswered emails and no deposit. It meant the flowers went to another bride. Then the organizer dropped them completely. Unrealistic expectations was the phrase, according to Daniel. He tried to soften it. I let him try. What remained was a tent in Sebastian's parents' backyard. Daniel said it was last minute, armed with haste, he said. There were mismatched chairs, borrowed tablecloths, and someone's uncle playing acoustic guitar. Some neighbors came, a couple of cousins, less than 30 people, counting the caterer. Camila wore another dress from a boutique store downtown, ivory satin, not the designer one she praised for months. Daniel said she looked good, but not happy. She smiled in the photos, her shoulders tense. They didn't stream. They didn't send a link. The morning of that backyard ceremony, I woke up early and made blueberry pancakes. I bought the berries the day before, on sale, with no plan for them. It felt like something useful to start the day. Just after 10 a.m., an email from Camila arrived. The subject line read, "Please read this." It was long, half apology, half rewriting history. She said she regretted how things turned out, that it wasn't her intention to exclude me, that she didn't know how to undo what had been done. She mentioned pressure, confusion, managing expectations. She said she didn't want to make me feel unwanted. She never said she was sorry for what she did, only that she felt bad for hurting me. I read it once, maybe twice. Then I filed it away and haven't looked at it again. I didn't open it. There was a time when I would have replied, when I would have analyzed each word, looking for one that meant hope, but I was no longer that woman. Instead, I changed, got dressed, put my hair up, and went to my ceramics class. That day, I made a cup. It came out uneven, heavy on one side, chipped at the edge, but when you held it, it felt real, imperfect, mine. Tuesday nights became my favorite part of the week. Ceramics, then dinner with Patricia and Monica from the office. 2 women who never asked me for anything, but always kept a place for me. We laughed at culinary disasters, embarrassments, and how liberating it was to be too old to pretend. And so I started to move on, not with revenge, not even with sadness, just with peace. Because when someone makes your love optional, your absence becomes power, and when they no longer need you to hold everything up, you can choose to hold yourself. A quiet Sunday arrived, one of those Mexican autumn afternoons where the air asks for a sweater, but the sun still caresses the skin as if summer had never gone entirely. I was in the backyard, tending to the tomato vines. They grew better than expected. Everyone said I planted them late, that they wouldn't thrive. Too much risk, little reward. But there they were, strong, stubborn, full of small green promises. The cell phone vibrated in my pocket. I let it ring. I let it vibrate until the call died in silence against my leg. When I checked it later, I saw her name, Camila Morales. A new voicemail. I didn't open it right away. I finished watering, removed some dry leaves from the vines, adjusted the stakes I used to hold them. Then I sat in the shade and let the breeze cool my neck. Only when the world was calm did I press play. "Please, Mom, just tell me what you want." That was all. 7 words, spoken short, worn, perhaps a little torn at the edges, but still missing the word I never asked for out of obligation, only out of respect. Sorry. She didn't say she felt it, just that she needed to. No, I miss you. No, I love you. No, I love you. No, now I understand. Just a question to know what I wanted in order to decide if it was something she could give. I didn't call back. Instead, I deleted the voicemail without ceremony, without hesitation, because what I wanted was already happening. I wanted tomorrows without expecting disappointments, days where my love wasn't negotiated as currency. Sitting in a garden I planted, drinking coffee from a cup I molded with my hands, and feeling complete without needing to be needed. That night, I took a pie to Monica's house. We sat under string lights in her yard, her dog snoring at our feet. She told me her daughter sent a meme about menopause that made her laugh until she cried. We didn't talk about Camila, and I didn't think about her until late, when I was at the sink washing dishes and realized I hadn't thought about her all day, not with pain, not with longing, only peace. There was no thunder, no closure email, no grand statement, just silence, just breathing, just life, finally mine again. Some weddings are just ceremonies, but some absences, those are the true vows. And this time I kept mine to myself.